Here I found some oddities in the pulp section. For some reason, if it's only 3 meters in length, they should accept down to 290 centimeters. They have a much lower value on it. And it's different, it's a fixed value for volume, so, and I don't see, a minimum should be 50 top diameter, 50 millimeter, and here they have down to 35 with a list with a lower value. Played around with the price list a little and added the premium I'm gonna get when selling to it on the timber. They raised a new area, so I have one with and one without. Might do a little test comparing the two. I will have to add them together later on if I want the total, but that's fine. And it's also a little odd, I find there is no second class price list for a second class on the timber. It's just class 1. I haven't looked at the pine section, it's only the spruce, because the area I'm at now is pretty much 100% spruce, a birch or two, but very little other things. I brought down another tree for a control measurement. I find no way to transfer the data from the timber tails back into the machine. This was suggested at some point, but I'll spend some time reading the manual when I find time for it. The length is consistently a little too long, roughly a centimeter for each meter of log, maybe a tiny bit more. The top diameters are spot on. They were a little off further down. Maybe it had slipped in the harvesting head a tiny bit, but looks okay. There is quite a bit of rotten wood here, sadly, so quite a lot of it will not be possible to pass as timber. These that are only dark at the outer edge and absolutely solid, I'm a little unsure about. And the machine also wants to make pulp out of a lot that might pass as small timber, so that's a little annoying. Here is another one that's has a little bit of rot at the edge that is a little questionable. I ran it as timber for now. I might have to revise some of these and look at them. But the machine ran great for a little bit at least. Here is another one that is dark on the outside and the center is solid. It's not rotten, so I'm not entirely sure. Then I have a whole bunch of these that are rotten, and several of them are rotten like all the way to the top. It's not even a little bit funny, but at least it's most of it is solid enough that it won't make it unusable and selling it for pulp at least. but was only able to run for, I'm not sure if I even got 2 hours, and then I blew a hose somewhere in the harvester head. I tried making a short one and see if it's better, but this one was rotten all the way through. Here is another one that's a little dark at the outer edge and the rest, but it's solid, the entire surface. Here I had seen it started dripping a little, so I had to look at that and decided that it needs to be looked at more properly. And I also was a little low on the hydraulic oil, but I got a low warning when the machine started leaning a little also. Pulled the cover off and brought the harvester head closer and tried maneuvering it and see if I could see the leak, and when I tried activating the saw I could see it starting to drip again, so I realized it had to do with the saw function. Decided to take it back closer to the garage where it's better access with tools, and then I started the forwarder to bring in what I had been able to take down. And that went okay. I still have a little bit of hydraulic complaining sound here and there. I wonder if the bush fix on the hydraulic pump, if it was too much damage on the axle for it to be a lasting solution. So as long as you keep the revs low you don't hear it, but if you bring the revs up and then in some cases the crane, there is a complaining sound from underneath. So we'll see. I might end up having to buy a new pump there too. Good days. Was able to bring in, it was one load of, I ran out of power, but it was almost a full load of the rotten material and pulp. So, and as I was unloading that, I blew a hose in the grapple on this one also. Good days. Should have stayed in bed this day. I'm not entirely sure, it's one of these two hoses. I think it's the shorter one, and I had a replacement for that, so that was replaced, but the one next to it looks really bad also, so I will have to get a replacement and I'm gonna replace that also. And when that was in place, I was gonna try starting it, and it refuses. So the solenoid was not the cause of the problem, even if that was jamming a bit. So now the starter motor will come out, but we'll probably try to tap it and start it and get it to the garage before doing that. So into the harvester head, opened up the cover and found a hose that I suspect was leaking. It connects up here and it was damaged. It was so oily up here, but there is a leak up in the or a big damage in the upper section also, so probably the leak was there. Some string and a zip tie to get a string to be able to pull the new one in place. This I found hanging. It's maybe a couple of centimeters shorter than the one that was on there, but it should work. And since it's O-rings on all the couplings here, that needs to be removed and replaced. Same at the other end. decided to open up the back cover on this section also. I've been dreading this because I thought they had put bolts in from the inside and had nuts on the outside, but turned out that the bolts are welded in place, so it was very easy. I have wanted to get in here because I suspected it to be a little bit full of muck in here also, like every other compartment on the machine. The little hose here had some damage also, so put a little protection on that. It might not do much. One of the electrical connectors up here had cracked a little, so glued on the plastic piece that had fallen off. I really need to get a new nozzle for the grease gun, because this is some cheapo unit that grabbed very hard the first time, and then I had to force it off, and after that it's not grabbing very well at all. And it refused to put any grease. They had removed this. I found a loose grease connection down here, and they had just put a grease fitting on there, so I made sure I could get grease through it. Had to get out the hand pumping gun, and then I buttoned things up, and we'll try again tomorrow.